Welcome to MyVision Express Provider Setup. To set up providers in MyVision Express, go to File, Setup, and Provider on the main application menu to access the provider screen. This screen allows you to add and modify insurance providers. Providers can be groups or individual practitioners. There are two basic rules for them: billing and rendering. A group has its own NPI number, typically has the name of your office or practice, and is used for billing purposes. An individual practitioner has an NPI number under his personal name and could act as a rendering provider, billing provider, or both. The numbers that appear next to certain fields on the screen correspond to the box numbers on HCFA or HCFA CMS 1500 paper forms. A provider may be added by importing the provider's information from the NPPES database maintained by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. The procedure for importing NPPES information is: click on Import to open the Lookup Service screen box. Type the name of the provider that you want to import in the search field and then click Search. And on the search results, mark the selected checkbox on the provider record that you want to import, and then click OK. To add a provider manually, select the Details tab on the provider screen. If you are adding a group provider, enter the full group name on the last/practice text box. If you are not adding a group provider, you will need to complete the first name and last name boxes for the rendering provider. Select a location for the provider from the Location drop-down box. If this parameter is not specified, the provider will be available on all locations. If the provider is an outside lab, make sure that the outside lab checkbox is checked. Complete the provider signature box. If this text box is left blank, box 31 of the HCFA CMS 1500 form will read "Signature on file." Enter the provider's address and phone number in the specified text boxes. In the Federal Tax Type drop-down box, select either EIN or SSN. Enter either the EIN or SSN in the corresponding text boxes. If you will use this provider on authorizations and claims submitted through the iFinity VSP interface, you must enter the VSP user ID, VSP password, and VSP Office ID assigned by iFinity VSP to this provider. The user ID and password are the same that you would use to log on to the iFinity website. However, before you start using the iFinity VSP interface, you must notify iFinity's customer care that you intend to use MyVision Express to submit claims. They will then give you the VSP Office ID number required here. Contact iFinity at least 2 business days before the date which you would like to start processing claims through the MyVision Express iFinity VSP interface. To be able to submit claims through the VSP interface using a given provider, its record must have a phone specified. To enter the provider's insurance numbers, click Add on the lower right of the provider screen. Fill in the insurance number field and make a selection from the insurance type drop-down list. To delete an insurance number, click to highlight the appropriate number and click Delete at the lower right of the screen. The insurance type drop-down list can be modified in the Provider Insurance Category group in the Categories Setup screen. In the Facilities tab, you can link a provider with one or more facilities. Select a provider from the Provider panel at the top of the screen. Then select one or more facilities from the Available Facilities panel. You may select multiple facilities for any given provider. After you have selected the facilities for the provider, you should go back to the Details tab and designate one of them as the default for that provider in the Default Facility drop-down box. And this concludes the setup for provider in MyVision Express.